What's going on, folks? It's Larry of Packmaster Dog Training here. I didn't plan on making a video right now, but I was just in the gym and I was listening to the podcast, the Dog Training Conversations with Chad Mackin and Jay Jack, which is a really great podcast, guys. So I advise everyone to get on there and check it out. But they were recording from the IACP conference. I hate that I missed it again this year. I'm going to definitely make next year's. I already made it a point. I love hanging out with dog people. But I wanted to talk about one subject today, but they kind of touched on it in several ways, and there were some really good things that I heard on this podcast that I wanted to try to address right now for the people who follow me. The first thing I heard, I think I heard Jay say, someone said something about you shouldn't have a release word. That is absolutely insane. I don't even understand that logic. So basically what you're saying is your dog has to live in a life of not sure whether he's on or off. Okay? I have 3 release words, and I'll tell you why. Like many people, I use yes to mark a behavior when we're teaching. Okay? So I say yes when the dog does what I ask for and the reward is going to follow. But that also means the dog doesn't have to stay in motion. He can break what we were just doing. He did what I asked, here's your reward. I use free dog. Free dog means I don't need your attention. Go be a dog, do whatever you want. Go sniff, go pee, go poop, go hump something, do whatever you want. But I also use all done. All done means when we're training, when we're working, when we're playing. All done means you're free, but the game is over also. And my dog knows all 3 very well, you know. We have to communicate. Our dogs learn what we want very easily. So I think it was Chad made a good point about using okay for a release word. And a lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't do that. And he's right. Man, the dogs know when we're talking to them. He's 100% right. They know when we're talking to them. Use what you want for your release word. All right? So many good things. The other thing I heard one of them say, I think it was Jay, it was a speaker at the IACP, which I probably would have been thrown out of the conference if I was there, because I would have had a problem with this. You should never play tug with your dog. Man, that's bad advice. I think that comes from an era of TV dog trainers, you know, where it's a dominance thing. And if you do, you better win all the time. Man, a good game of tug is, it's so valuable to so many dogs, you know, and there's so many things you can do out of that, you know, that's what's important. I'm trying to think what else they touched on. Oh, they were talking about the ability to train a client's dog. I consider my success rate extremely low, really low. Now, if you talk to 100% of my clients, you're going to get a really high success rate from them, but I expect a lot. I have very, very high standards, and there's very few clients that I'm ever really, truly excited with, like, man, that dog that's what I want. You know, there's just not a lot because I have super high standards. I'm very high on myself. With that being said, I think Jay was talking about this. Training a dog is easy. It means nothing if you give me your dog and I make it look like a superstar, because I guarantee you, your dog's going to look better for me immediately. It means nothing if I can't transfer that to you. So the success that I do have, I get a lot of accolades for some of these difficult dogs that people see. It has very little to do with me. It really does. It's my ability to teach the owners. And I spend a lot of time teaching owners. And I'm hard on my clients. I am brutally hard because I expect a lot. I'm not there just to collect a paycheck, man. I'm not. I don't just want your money. If you sign up for a 5-lesson program and at lesson 5, I don't like where you're at, guess what? We keep training. I don't charge for that. If at the end of a 2-week board and train, I don't like where your dog is, it's staying another week. Guess what? I don't charge for that because that's on me. I need it to look right, okay? Oh man, I know I'm not going to remember. There's so many things they touched on. Really, really great podcast, guys, by the way. I like them all. I listen to them all. But this one I listened to in the gym. Instead of listening to music and wanting to smack someone, you know, I just listened to the podcast and kept me kind of mellowed down. So really great job. So guys, go out there and download their podcast. The thing I did want to talk about that I've been putting off talking about is the difference between working dog people and pet dog people. And there is a very big difference. And there's a lot of people missing out by being separated, okay? Now, I've talked about this before. 90% of the dogs I work with are pet dogs, clients. That's my bread and butter. That's what I do, mostly fixing problem pet dogs. But I do work with working dogs. I do work with police dogs, you know. But in my 20-something year career, I've learned more from working dog people than anyone else. More than anyone else, by far. Okay? And I've worked with some of the best, you know. I consider everything I do to somehow be based off of Bart Ballone's system. So thank you, Bart, for everything you have done for me. Because the first time I was in that man's presence, the first time I watched him work dogs, you know, I was like a sponge. I listened to every word. And it blew my mind. It opened so many doors for me. And I continued to go back and back and back. And even Bart said to me one day, "Why do you keep coming back?" I said, why wouldn't I? You know, I take something every time. Every time. Several years ago, I went out to San Francisco to work with Michael Ellis. I never told Michael this. I didn't go out there to learn how to train dogs because I guess maybe I was a little cocky and thought he wasn't going to be able to teach me much. So I went out to do e-collar work with him. You know, I'm considered a pretty good e-collar trainer. But the reason I went out to work with Michael was I wanted to see how he ran his business. I wanted to see his facility. I wanted to see how he taught people because he had such an impeccable reputation as a teacher. And I needed that. I wanted to be the best teacher possible. So I went out there to work with Michael, who's a real class act and a super nice, humble guy. You don't see a lot of humble people in this industry. And guess what? We did e-collar work. I took one or two little things out of his e-collar system that I wasn't doing. And I immediately added it to my system, and it was a game changer, man. I mean, it was a game changer. So I went out there to learn how to teach and learn how he ran things. And I took some of the most valuable information I ever gained as a trainer from him. So thank you, Michael, too. But the point is, guys, I remember sitting at a table one time with Bart Ballone and a bunch of working dog people. And these people knew me. They had seen me in their circles many times. They've watched my dogs. I've always had, you know, a lot of compliments from these people. I remember one day someone was talking to me about a certain competition. And I said to him, I said, I don't compete in IPO or Schutzen. I don't compete in dog sports. And they looked at me, they couldn't believe it. They're like, "What do you mean you don't compete in dog sports?" And I was like, "I don't compete." And they said, "Well, what are you doing here?" I said, "Because I'm sitting with the best trainer on the planet." You know? And they said, "But your dog looks phenomenal. You can go out there and compete with him today." I said, "Well, that's because I'm sitting here with the best trainer on the planet. I learn from people better than me." And that blew their mind. And what I explained to them, and this is what I want to explain to you, if you understand working dogs and the complexity of the working dog and how to handle these extremely high-strung, high-drive dogs and how to teach and create, but at the same time keep calm and make a family pet dog training it's cake. It's so easy. I very rarely run into a difficult dog in the pet dog world. I really do. If you can understand the complexity and be successful in the working dog world, pet dog training's easy, folks. And too many of you are missing out. You have nothing to do with working dogs. And I don't mean just IPO or Schutzen dogs. Go into, you know, agility, you know, dock diving, everything. The more people you could hang out with and learn, the better. Okay? Now, at the same time, a lot of these working dog people, I go to these events and I come away with clients all the time. And I'm not there recruiting clients trying to drum up business. I don't do that. But what they see is I have an extremely driven dog that performs really nicely in pressure situations. He's tuned into me. He don't care about anything else. But yet, many times he's the only dog at these events off leash, no tools, and he's calm. He's my family pet. They'll ask, he lives outside? Does he live? No, he's my pet. He's my family dog. You know, so a lot of the working dog people, they're great at the working dog side, but their dog's behavior is terrible. It just sucks. And they can't have him in the house as a family pet. And there's so many wrong beliefs out there that you can't have one without the other. Trust me, you can. Trust me, you really, really can. I'll give you a little story here one time about the first time I worked with Bart Ballone. I drove 14 hours. I had a female Dutch Shepherd. The dog looked like a superstar when we were at home. As soon as I put her in a car and go someplace, she looks like I beat her. She was terrible. I didn't get her as a puppy. I got her 7, 8 months old, so I didn't know what the issues were. But she looked awful. So I went out to work with Bart. There's a ton of people there. Really, really tremendous trainers. Like, this was a big weekend. Everyone worked their dog. 10 minutes, Bart would have the problems fixed. Boom. I go out later in the day. He says, okay, work your dog, do this. Throw the ball. He says to me, I can't help you. And, you know, I saw the look, everyone's face. They all felt bad for me, you know. And I was like, okay, why not? He's like, you've done everything you could do. You got this dog to maybe a 65. It'll never be 100. He said, I might be able to get it a little more, but you've done everything you could do. I actually felt good about that. I didn't feel bad. People felt sorry for me, but I was happy. I was happy I had done everything I could, and there was nothing else I could do. But here's where it gets interesting. Bart went on to the next person. And I kept my dog out with me, and she was off leash next to me, ears down, looking like crap. And it was something Bart said to the next person about spontaneous reward that really stuck in my head. And literally at that moment, my dog looked up at me, ears came up, she looked real good. I said yes, and I rewarded. And my dog looked at me like, what the hell was that for? And she looked at me real strong again. I said yes, and I rewarded. I did that 5 or 6 times, and she perked up. I threw the dog in the car, I went to a neutral field, and I started working her, and she looked fantastic. So fast forward, I get home, I have a meeting with my wife and kids. Here's the new rule, guys. This dog does not exist unless she looks strong. The ears are up, she looks confident. She doesn't exist. When she looks good, she gets everything from us. When she looks bad, she gets nothing. Well, she turned into a different dog very quick. You know, a year later, I go work with Bart again, and I'm working this dog, and I'm doing it on purpose. And he comes over and we're talking, and he says, that's not the same dog. I said, yeah, it is. He said, fuck no, it's not, in that cool ass accent. I said, yeah, it is. He said, what did you do? I said, I didn't do nothing, you did. And I explained to him what he said. He goes, I didn't say that. I said, yeah, you did. So a lot of people go to these seminars, they work with people, they don't take much out of it because they go there to work their own dog, and you know, that's it. Then they tune out, you know. Let me tell you something, when you work with someone like that, you better keep your freaking ears open and pay attention to every word they say, because you don't know what's going to come out of their mouth. And you're screwing yourself by not taking as much information as you can. So it's very, very important. You know, fast forward several years later, I'm working at another Bart Ballone thing. I took Luca, he was 9 months old. I never told Bart this. He was waiting. I didn't take Luke out there to work with him. I took him out there to socialize. I wanted to keep him penned up in a new place and around all that stuff. And while Bart was waiting for the next person to come out, he said, hey, Larry, you got your dog? I said, yeah. He said, go ahead and work him. I said, no, I'm not here. He's not ready to be worked. He's a puppy. He goes, just work him. I said, no, I'm not. He goes, go get your dog. So I did. I got out there, I worked my dog. Now, what Bart usually does is when you're working your dog, he'll point out where you're going wrong, what you need to do, what you need to change, and he'll tell everyone. But when I started working my dog, he started narrating. Larry is doing this because. Larry just did this because. Okay, now his dog's doing this, and Larry hasn't doing this because. So he narrated the whole thing. I worked my dog for a while, and I was done. He said bravo and clapped his hand, and I walked off the field. I didn't say nothing. I didn't lead anyone to think. But at that moment, I felt that I had done something as a dog trainer, because when I got his approval to that level, you know, with a young dog, a 9-month-old dog, and I worked him for a while, it really meant the world to me. You know, I knew I had arrived at a different spot in my life as far as training. So the pet dog people, you have to work with these working dog people, but working dog people too. There's a lot of great pet dog trainers out there, you know, that have a lot of good information that can make you better on the training field and in your everyday life. A lot of tremendous trainers. And that's why this podcast that Chad and Jay does, it's fantastic. So good for you guys. Keep it up, man. You know, when I started listening to it, I used to yell at the radio because Chad would say shit that I've believed for a long time. I'm just not articulate enough to say it. You know, he's very articulate. And for a while, I thought Jay was the other side of me. You know, this real aggressive, want to smack you in the mouth guy. And he is, and I'm like that. But Jay's very articulate too, and they do a great job. So kudos to you two homeboys. Keep up the good work, man. And man, I'm not missing any more conferences. You guys suck. I was so jealous, you know, looking at all the Facebook stuff for you guys. I won't miss any more. But, and I'm sure, as usual, I forgot to say a lot of things, guys. But being part of the working dog world without even competing has done so much for me as a dog trainer. So you pet dog people, man, anymore. But and I'm sure, as usual, I forgot to say a lot of things, guys. But being part of the working dog world without even competing has done so much for me as a dog trainer. So you pet dog people, man, take these stupid myths out of your head and get out there and learn how to do this. Okay, please learn, broaden your horizons. The more you learn, listen, there's a lot of trainers out there that I don't agree with everything, but they're not going to agree with me with everything too, but they still have a lot of good things to say, you know, a lot of good things to say, man. I don't even have to like anyone, or I may disagree with most of what they say, but if they have a lot of experience, usually they're going to come up with something I say, shit, that's pretty good. You know, I gotta take that, I gotta remember that. So this is just about dog training in general, and it's a rant. And I literally said I got to sit down and talk about some of the stuff when I was listening to the podcast there just now. But really great stuff. So I hope this inspires someone in the pet dog industry to get out there and start hanging with the working dog people. And same thing, working dog people. I get a lot of clients from your world now for a reason, you know. You got to integrate the two of them. You integrate the two of them, you're going to see a world of change. So peace and thanks to all the people out there that I have learned from and stolen stuff from and copied from. And now we spread it along and hope it keeps on going. Take care.